More than 100 years ago, there was an old British man who tried to warn us about the dangers of Islam. He had seen with his very own eyes in his earlier stages in life just how dangerous Islam could be. That man is a man by the name of Winston Churchill. And for one reason or another, he has either been forgotten, dismissed, or is even being treated like the bad guy now, right? They're worshiping the little mustache man and now holding Churchill to be a villain of sort. But one thing that you can't take away is that he said what he said. And unfortunately, the very same people in the very same regions that he was warning have now given themselves over to Islam. So I came across a video, quite a recent video. I wish this was one of those from, 2004, 2007, 2015, whatever. And, we had since retracted this sort of stuff. We had, figured our way from almost being guided into this very dangerous direction. But no, it's a video from a couple of days ago. Now, when y'all see the video, you'll get exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. But I think it will speak for itself.
Sharia law is now valid in Austria. A court has ruled in a decision widely condemned by locals. In a landmark legal decision, the court ruled that a contract made between two businessmen using Sharia law is valid in the country. One of the parties had taken the case to the court, pointing out Sharia's arbitrary nature. Often being subject to wildly differing interpretations by scholars, and its fundamental violation of Austrian law and its principles. But the court slapped the argument down, explicitly stating the Sharia agreement didn't contradict Austrian values, and ruled that Islamic legal provisions could, quote, be effectively agreed upon in an arbitration agreement. The decision prompted fury from the Conservative government. Claudia Placon, Minister for Europe, Integration and Family, said, "Sharia has nothing to do with Austria and the principles of our constitution, and it should remain that way. Therefore, we, as the federal government, decided back in May that the Ministry of Justice would develop proposals by the end of the year so that Sharia rules could no longer be applied in the future. Sharia rules do not belong in Austria." The ruling People's Party said, "This opens the door to even further political Islam. The ruling elevates parallel Islamic societies in Austria and weakens those forces that refuse to submit to Islam."
Now, we've got a lot to work with just in that first minute and a half. And we're going to get through as much of this as we possibly can, so long as y'all have the time. I do. So, Sharia law. Well, somebody in my comments said, well, technically the word Sharia means law, so you're just saying law. Yeah. Turns out that most of the governing bodies on the planet call it Sharia law, right? It is pointing towards a very specific subsect of laws that are related only to Islam, and therefore, in order to translate that message to anybody who is outside of Islam, you wouldn't necessarily just say Sharia. You would say Sharia law, so they know what you're referring to, right? So there's that. Sharia law is the end goal of Islam. Here's what I mean. When Islam makes its way into any region in the world, what it is looking to do is to dominate. It's to control absolutely. Now, some may say, what's the difference between, when the British colonize or when the Spaniards colonize or whatever else it may be? What's the difference there? What is the difference between any other ideology making its way into a nation? Christianity. What's the difference there? Well, the difference is Islam demands absolute submission in every way. So contrary to what some may believe out there, even in the midst of a British colony, individuals were still able to worship their own respective God. There may have been, the God of England, the God of the English church, but there was still an allowance of your own chosen religion, your own cultural norms, etc. There was an enforcement and reinforcement of, Western values, which, dare I say, actually helped to uplift much of the world out of abject poverty, out of much sickness and things of that nature. But still, even in the worst of, I guess, humans taking other humans subject, right? Outside of slavery, of course. And even slavery. I mean, again, as terrible slavery has been throughout the course of history, the one that's oftentimes looked at because, white liberals told us to look at this version as slavery. So it's a American antebellum slavery. Even in that context, you still had, they can do their thing, right? They can do their thing. It doesn't mean that they're free, but they can still do their thing. It wasn't wake up, get out of your cabin. All right. Do you believe in the words of the Prophet Muhammad? No. Okay. Slaughter. Wasn't that? And that's the worst of the worst. Now, Sharia law, which is being activated in real time across the planet. I saw something happening in Belgium in the last couple of weeks to do with the Sharia court. The UK has already implemented Sharia law in, some of these, I don't know if it's provinces or if it's in the cities or whatever it may be, right? You have full-blown Islamic mayors. You have some of the most powerful people in parliament who are Muslims, jihadists, who believe in Sharia law. So Islam is both religious, or not both, that's two. It is religious, it is economic, essentially it is political, and it is social. It encompasses every single one of those. Sharia law is the rule of the land. So when you have capitalism doesn't inform your religious decisions. Right? Capitalism informs your economic decisions. When you have conservatism, that doesn't necessarily inform your political or economic decisions necessarily, unless you claim to be a, financial conservative, economic conservative, or whatever it may be. Right? You just don't want your government spending money willy-nilly, but it still doesn't inform what you're allowed to believe or else. And that's the danger. Now, we're currently in a very sort of murky environment where folks are still seeing the version of Islam that is being delivered to them by those who are looking to give it a soft sort of introduction into the Western world, which essentially means they're using the law of taqiyya, or the rule of taqiyya, the teaching that you can lie so long as it is for the purpose of progressing or pushing forth Islam, pushing Islam into the rest of the world. If it is to perpetuate Islam, if it is in protection of Islam, if it is in relationship to this ideology, you're allowed to lie to your neighbor. You can smile in the face and stab in the back. That is taqiyya. So why do I bring that up? Because what we're seeing right now is taqiyya, right? Hey, these are the Sharia laws. Very simple. A man would do such and such. This aligns with your law, correct? A woman would, a man and a woman. And then you start to ask questions like, wait, so why can a man divorce off of word, but a woman has to go through this extensive process where she likely will be denied? Why is that? Well, I mean, there are the biological differences. You understand that, Westerner. Biological differences, man, woman, different, right? And it is not technically that the woman has less right. She is as smart as men. It is just that, men divorce is final and women divorce is never. In the full expression of manifestation, it is your women veiled from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet, tips of their fingers, tucked away, slaving in a home, treated like livestock, treated as means of reproduction. It is anybody who does not submit to the law being struck dead, being beheaded, limbs cut off. This is according to their own book. This is law. What do they tell you, though? It is charity, taking care of your fellow brother and sister. You and I, right? The beautiful trip to Mecca and all the people coming together, all colors and creeds. That's what you're told on the surface. That's the selling point of it. That's how it's delivered to you. That's how it's given to you in order for you to accept it in the way that these fools in government over in Austria are. And man, I hope some of my Austrian folks pull up and tell me what the hell is going on over there.
This is the latest twist in Austria's checkered relationship with political Islam. The country was the first in Europe to recognise the religion with its 1912 Islam law. But changes to the law banning foreign funding for mosques led to a backlash from Muslims who said the state was spreading distrust of them. In 2017, the country...
I'm sorry, they do that in and of themselves. Ain't no way. Again, I'm telling about Taqiyya. My boy Jay put me on to Taqiyya, and it has indeed changed my life. He told me it would, and it did.
And the burqa. Parties on the right have been rising in Austria, fueled by concern over immigration and Islamism. The right-wing Freedom Party won the last election, but Austria's president refused to allow his party to form a government. The party had promised a clampdown on immigration.
Das ist doch eine Selbstverständlichkeit, dass wir diejenigen, die hier kein Anrecht auf einen Schutz haben, dass wir diejenigen, die sich an unseren Frauen und unseren Mädchen vergreifen, dass wir diejenigen...
I'm sorry, but it's almost as if Austria has forgotten its heritage. Well, not its entire heritage. Let me not be, unfair. But the little mustache man was a product of Austria. It's as if, I guess we missed the guy. Let's just go ahead and bring the very same ideology, multiplied into our houses.
Die Menschen in diesem Land ermorden, dass wir die nicht noch verhätscheln und bei uns durchfüttern und dann unter einem Deckmantel der falschen Toleranz irgendwie über Jahre und Jahrzehnte bei uns im Land behalten. Nein, liebe Freunde, ein solches System schützt die Falschen. Ich möchte mit euch gemeinsam die Richtigen schützen und das ist die eigene Bevölkerung. Und deshalb Remigration für all diejenigen, die glauben, sich nicht an unsere Regeln halten zu müssen.
The ruling People's Party has hardened its own stance in response, with Claudia Placom vowing to ban the hijab for children under 14.
Das Kopftuch ist ein Zeichen der Unterdrückung. Mädchen werden da in einer ganz entscheidenden Phase, wo sich die Persönlichkeit entwickelt, wo sich der Körper entwickelt, hinter dem Kopftuch versteckt. Und diese extremistischen Tendenzen, gerade bei Kindern, haben einfach an unseren Schulen nichts verloren.
Britain is seeing its own growing concern over the role of Sharia courts in its society.
Mohammed is the most popular baby name in Britain for the second year in a row. I'd like to congratulate Mohammed on doing the double. It's back-to-back victory for Mohammed. There's been a 23% rise in the number of little baby Mohammeds in the last year. The name Keir, by the way, has died out. So the name Keir has completely died out. I can't help but note there's some kind of tragic irony there, as Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party appears to have entirely lost the Muslim vote. But there's a moving graph here that illustrates the rise of Mohammed. So I think we can have a look at this now. So if we start in 1996, we've got a lot of Jacks, a lot of Joshuas, Thomas, Samuel's doing pretty well. Jack starts pulling away as we enter the 2000s. He's way out on top,
That's so
actually, as we hurtle towards...
Jack. The Union Jack. I mean, again, I'm tying things or threading things that maybe aren't even supposed to be connected, but let's say the Union Jack, a little bit of a pride that the people still had within their nation when it was actually still, the Brits, of course.
2008. Watch out, Jack. Wow. Watch out, though, because in comes Oliver. Look at him go. Look at him go. Oliver and Harry, they're duking it out. But look at what happens.
Shout out to J.K. Rowling on the Harrys. He did the damn thing.
when we get to around 2016. So something interesting. Oh, there we go. In steams Mohammed. And there's no stopping him. Up, up, up he goes. Mohammed's on the march. He's biffed Arthur. He's biffed George. He's biffed Oliver. There was only ever going to be one winner there. It's Mohammed. And look at him go. Up he goes, up, 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 up. And, well, he's managed to actually climb above. It's him and Noah. There's a biblical battle taking place here. And, yep, there he is, out on top. But he's not just won. He's won by a landslide. He's now out in front with 5,721 new babies. So there we are. But on a slightly more serious point, I do think that this speaks to a wider point about rapid demographic change in Britain. In Small Heath, Birmingham, 85.9% of the population identify as Muslim. Parts of Leicester.
Wait. What? Hold up. 18 times. What?
75% Muslim. Parts of Bradford, like a place called Toller, there are 80% of people there who say they are Muslim. In the UK, Muslim women have a higher average number of children compared to non-Muslim women. So research by the Pew Research Centre.
Y'all are cooked. Nah, y'all are cooked. Bring this guy back. Bring this now. Do it now. This guy needs to come back today. What on God's green earth? Oh, wow. Okay. You know, some folks say to themselves, well, why would it matter? Unless you are a racist who doesn't want to see brown people in this country, why does it matter? And to that I say, you really think it's about skin color? Then you've missed the entire damn plot. If you don't know that this has everything to do with ideology, in the same way we have white folks in America who stand for America and white folks in America who want to see America destroyed, it just so happens to be that there are more brown people who want to see the destruction of the Western world. Now, do you think that matches? That is in alignment with what you want for your future, your kids' future, your kids' kids? Do you want them to live in a world where the Western way of life, freedoms and liberties have been dismantled by this totalitarian ideology? And I don't just call it a religion, because it's not just a religion, my friend. It is ideology. It is a way of life. It is political. It is social. It is economic. It is religion. It is everything. It is life. You can go into a nation where you see people that, you know, might be Christian, might be Jewish, might be Hindu, Buddhist, etc., atheist, all together, and you can't tell the difference. You know why that is? Because, you know, let's say outside of orthodoxy, you're not necessarily going to tell the difference on attire or, you know, on how these people are essentially engaging and interacting with one another, their environment, etc., because there's still a cultural glue there. That is Western ideals. We can all work together and cooperate. All these men can be in suits together working on something. Now, that may seem surface level, but do you know how important it is to have a social glue? It's so important. As a matter of fact, if anybody knows how important it is Islam. They understand what it is to have everybody in agreement with what we got going on here. So here we have everybody in agreement that individual freedoms should be protected. Social, political, economic freedoms must be protected. That's why we don't stand with the commies. The real life communist, not your, your little cousin who came out of a woke institution and claims to be a communist. No, I'm talking about the real commies. The real you know what I mean? Slaughter the whole family commies like them. I'm talking about those guys. Yeah, those guys, they get what's going on here. They know what this is. Seeing those numbers in real life, or in real time, excuse me. Sometimes, like, again, I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm doing my best. I don't know every stat, every this, every that, but I know the general direction where things are going, and, specifics about what I would believe to be what would help the full picture. But when I see 85%, 80% in the UK, a place where I went to 22 years back, and I've been as recent as 2017, but 20 some years back to visit family. And I remember it being England at some level, I guess. To now see that 20 years later, that I likely would think I'm in the middle of Pakistan or Afghanistan or some of that nature is actually mind-blowing. We're here, folks. We're already here. Oh, wow.
Reports that the fertility rate around UK Muslims is around 3, so you have 3, while non-Muslims is about 1.8. And in fact, for what it's worth, white mothers have just 1.44 babies in their lifetime, apparently. The Muslim population...
See, white women, y'all keep waiting until 40 years old to have your first baby because you want to get to the bag. You want to build your career and educate yourself. I get it. That's a beautiful thing. They're having babies from the get till the end. That is a part that must be acknowledged, right? Unaliving. I hate that I have to say that word, but for the sake of the platform. Executing your young in the womb and justifying it and calling it a woman's right, while you get outbred and outled 3-1. Where did the white people go? Well, they died and they stopped reproducing. That's going to be the story that's told if y'all don't chill. If y'all don't chill, by chill I mean if y'all don't get a damn grip, get to the house and start making some damn babies. I know that's a little bit of a deviation there, but damn it.
Could be 5.6 million by 2030, and Muslims could make up 17.2% of the British population by 2050. And isn't it astonishing to think that in just 25 years' time, 17.2% of the British population could be Muslim? This will largely be due to immigration, obviously, both legal and illegal. But there's an interesting quote that emerges here if you Google AI about benefits data by religious groups in Britain. So this is what it tells you. I've taken this quote directly from Google AI. It says, data suggests that a higher proportion of Muslims and other religious groups are affected by poverty and receive income-related benefits. This is partly due...
AKA they're milking the damn system. Yo ass goes to the job, crunching spreadsheets, right? Crunching numbers. And they're over there at the house collecting a check off of your back. Man, y'all... Oh, I don't want to be considered a racist. I'm not a racist. You've been so afraid to be called a damn racist for speaking your mind and standing up for your country. We never said it was about race. They're black folk. They are, brown folk, etc., who want to see Western civilization thrive. I just happen to be one of them. Yes, I've been labeled a sellout. I don't give a damn. I sold out all right. I sold out of those damn slave papers. I'm a free man. Django.
Due to higher unemployment rates within the Muslim community and a greater likelihood of living in deprived areas. Now, look, this won't be the case for everyone, of course, but I can't help but wonder whether if you're already in receipt of benefits and unemployed, then maybe you are less likely to stop and think about whether you can afford to have children before you do actually have them. Nobody can deny that there is a huge cultural change taking place in the UK, and it's going to continue. There are certain benefits to multiculturalism and to all of that, but not...
No, it's not. There's a benefit to a specific type of diversity. Diversity in ideas, diversity in innovations. Skin color has nothing to do with it. Culture is a terrible idea. I did an entire video just on that one. No. A diversity of culture is not good. You need a monoculture to grow the culture, to thrive as a culture. I'm not saying everybody needs to be the same clone, right? This ain't the schmatzis, right? The Aryan, no. None of that works. It's all hogwash nonsense. You need people who are able to come together with the same values.
All cultural change is good. So Britain has more Sharia courts than any other Western country. A job advert for a Sharia law administrator was listed on the government's website. It's now been deleted. We've recently had debates in Parliament about cousin marriage, first cousin marriage. We have specialist inbreeding nurses to deal with the medical problems that can cause. We have specialist clinics now for female genital mutilation. Forced marriages are a problem, with many people being taken abroad to places like Pakistan to be wedded off, and sometimes to someone that they've never even met. Look, Muslims and multiculturalism can bring a lot to our society.
No. See, this is where the danger lays right here. I don't know what the leaning of GBN or GB News, Great Britain News, I guess it is. I don't know what their leaning is politically, but just listen to this real quick. And then I have my little closing statement.
For female genital mutilation. Forced marriages are a problem, with many people being taken abroad to places like Pakistan to be wedded off, and sometimes to someone that they've never even met. Look, Muslims and multiculturalism can bring a lot to our society.
Muslims and multiculturalism can bring a lot to our society. Why does that have to be said? That's still the little fear. Look, no, not that bad. It's just that. Do you want to hear what Churchill said? Let me tell you what Churchill said. When he was in Sudan, having to fight what this ideology breeds. Civilization is confronted with militant Mohammedism, he concluded. The forces of progress clash with those of reaction. The religion of blood and war is face to face with that of peace. Luckily, the religion of peace is usually the better armed. On the northwest frontier and soon again in Sudan, Churchill saw Islamic fundamentalism up close. It was a form of fanaticism that in many key features, its sheer implacability, contempt for Christianity, opposition to liberal Western values, not that liberal, what it used to mean, addiction to violence, demand for total allegiance, and so on, was not unlike the political fanaticism that he was to encounter 40 years later. Wonder what that was about. 40 years later, what would Churchill encounter that was like Islam? Leave that up in the air. Yeah. 100 years ago. 100 years ago. And look at us now. Well, yeah, they have a lot to bring. They have a lot to offer. What do they have to offer? The humans. You see, no human is born a Muslim, right? They are formed into one, informed into one. And I have a young lady, or a lady who's going to come onto the show, and she is an ex-Muslim, and we're going to have a conversation, and she's going to unpack her own past and even you being forced into this marriage and things of that nature. So that's going to be super, super insightful. I'm very excited for that. I think this Saturday we're going to be sitting together. So, before you know it, we'll be there. And I would wonder if she would think that, oh, yeah, Islam has a lot to offer to Western civilization. No, innovators, creators, productive people, good parents, wholesome individuals, those with integrity and honor, they have a lot to offer Western civilization. OnlyFans doesn't have anything to offer. It's like, it's not just that I'm picking on. It's like there's degeneracy doesn't. Right, gang culture and ghetto culture has nothing to offer Western civilization. It has nothing to offer this world that is of innovation and hopefully true progress. Transformer ideology has nothing to offer this civilization. There are things that do, and those are the productive things. Multiculturalism, no. I mean, learning from different cultures and understanding how they work, sure. But to bring them together and to force them into the same mishmash, a culture that is okay with trash being thrown on the ground does not add anything to a culture that believes in the cleanliness of its environment. And if that's controversial, then damn it, let me be controversial. I'll be that for the rest of my life. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
Aquarius. Where? I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, you. Staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, you. I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind. I've been getting visions of the other kind. Yeah, I've been up for weeks. I'm in the count of blessings over count of sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people.